Hey there. How you doing, baby? Welcome back. As promised, we're about to venture into one of your uncle's favorite genre stories about another trickster, of course. No, we're not talking about High John the Conqueror. This time, we're gonna touch base on Anansi. This here story is called How Anansi Won the Stories of the Sky God. Anansi sat under a tree and sighed slowly. He was bored. He had nothing to do, nothing to occupy his mind. He folded his arms and wished he had one of the stories owned by the Sky God, Nyame. You see, during the time, Nyame, the Sky God, kept all the stories hidden away, far from view, and never let anyone near them, let alone tell them. Heck, you wasn't even allowed to see them. So there were no books, films, televisions, things of that nature. 'Cause however you cut it, all of these were stories, and all the stories were hidden away. As he laid there, he thought curiously on the idea how it would feel to own the stories for himself, and he grinned. Oh, how jealous everyone would be if he, Anansi, owned the stories of the Sky God. How he could boast, and how he would enjoy telling everyone all the stories he owned. And of course, he'd enjoy especially telling the tale and how he got them in the first place. At that moment, Anansi decided to see if the Sky God would sell him the stories, and if he would, what price they would be. So Anansi packed himself a few things, food and such, and set off for the home of the Sky God Yami. Traveling for days, he finally came to the place where the Sky God lived, and he asked Yami, "Sky God Yami, what's your price? What price you take for them there stories?" After considering long and hard, he replied, "The price you pay be great. Many try to buy me their stories, but no one meet me price yet. But I gonna tell you what to do. All I ask in return for my stories is the hornets, a python, and one of the fairies, and a leopard. If you can bring me them things, I'll give you all the stories ever told so far, and all the stories yet to be told. I'll give them all. This here, I promise you, Anansi." And with that, Anansi returned home to find his wife in the kitchen preparing food, which she was then storing and selecting the finest parts. He told his wife it's so, what the Sky God had said. "But how the hell can I get what he asked for, woman?" Anansi said, scratching his head. "And how on earth am I gonna catch them hornets? Everybody know how bad-tempered they is. If I try to trick them, well, I hate to see what they try to do to me." Anansi's wife listened to her husband as she cleaned and divulged the plan, and she told him what to do. "Aha, woman, you be smart. I'll follow you their plan." Next thing you know, Anansi set off and went to fill a gourd with water and headed off next to where the hornets were, dousing himself with water and shouting, "It be raining ya! It be raining ya! Where be their shelter just to come out the rain?" You see, Anansi knew how much hornets hated the rain. He looked around and saw a banana tree and took a large leaf and hid shelter under it. And again he sprinkled himself with water. Seeing the hornets, he went over to them. "Can't you see it's raining? Why you think I'm under this here that leaf?" He asked them. "If you want to hide from the rain, if you need shelter, you can hide in this here gourd if you want." They thanked him, and the hornets flew into the hollow gourd, and quickly he closed the hole. Got him. Now I can take you off to the sky god as payment for the stories, Anansi said happily. After Anansi had taken the hornets to the sky god and promised he would get him his python, he returned home to find his wife making clay pots from the clay she had dug from the earth earlier that day. "It's so, my love, I see you making them there clay pots. It requires a delicate hand, a gentle hand, and you see, Esau had just that fine potter's hand." Anansi went on until his wife with the sky god said this time. "But how on earth am I going to get what he asked for this time?" he asked his wife. She continued making her pots, thinking long and hard, and then suddenly she came up with a clever plan to trick Oni, the python. You see, Anansi knew how vain Oni was, so he was sure his wife's plan would work. He went on and picked up his hatchet, walked into the forest, and seek out the longest, straightest branch he could find, and he chopped it down, just muttering loudly to himself, making sure anyone and everyone in the forest could hear what he was saying. And Anansi said, "Wife, you be so wrong, and I prove it." Then Anansi went to seek out the python, who was resting on a nearby rock, warming himself under the hot sun. "I tell you, this woman gonna drive me crazy. I tell you, this here branch definitely longer than a python. And me can't believe you think it's shorter. And I'm gonna prove it, you hear me?" Anansi said this loudly to himself, loud enough for everyone, even the snake could hear him coming. "Be them foolish woman, how can you say this here branch be shorter than a python? Be making no sense at all." The python, being the vain creature that it was, overheard Anansi muttering to himself and slid over to him. "What's that you say, Anansi? Is it true your wife thinks that branch you're carrying is shorter than me? Is she a fool? Me foolish woman, tell me to come down here to cut down a branch that's longer than you. Then she go on and tell me that I'm wrong, that this here branch is shorter. She is wrong," replied the python, firmly nodding his head. "Brother Python, my wife wounded me this time. Would you be helping me prove my point?" Agreeing, the python watched Anansi lay the stick straight out on the ground. The snake went in and laid down next to the branch, but to his own horror found that he was slightly shorter. "Damn it! We must prove her wrong, or I'll never live it down," Anansi muttered. "I'll tie your tail to this end of the branch. You stretch out to the other end, just so you be longer, by sure." Now, being a very vain creature itself, the snake agreed, not wanting Anansi's wife to be right himself. The snake stretched out as far as he could and still found that he was still just a little shorter. "Damn it all," screeched Anansi. "I got an idea. Let me tie your middle and you stretch even further." And again, being a very vain creature, the snake agreed and let his middle be tied. Also again, he stretched as far as he could pulling against the ropes that bound him to the branch, and finally